Hi, I'm State Representative Jenny Graham from Spokane's 6th District, coming to you from the Capitol in Olympia. I'm going to take a minute to talk to you about House Bill 2173 and Senate Bill 5855 banning police face coverings. It's a bill that we're getting a lot of emails and calls regarding. I am the ranking member for the Community Safety Committee and did have the opportunity to sit in and hear testimony about this bill from all sides, whether it's law enforcement or it's concerned citizens. So some of the issues that are coming up is that there is concern for law enforcement, having their faces covered, and when and if that's appropriate, and if it's appropriate, when that should happen. These are definitely conversations that we should be having. Part of what's come out of this is there's also starting to be some recognition that there's a difference between Western Washington and Eastern Washington when it comes to weather. Eastern Washington gets much colder, so we could have a situation where there's been an accident or something and law enforcement's having to respond, and they could be in danger of frostbite, a wind burn if they're not able to protect their faces. We could be in a situation where there's a fire or some other situation. We had COVID where face masks were being required. So there's not really anything in the bill that takes that into consideration. And because this is a situation where it's not a criminal case, but it's a civil case, we definitely want to make sure that there are not unintended consequences that are coming out of that, where in normal instances we would say, yeah, you should be doing that. I've had a lot of feedback, also frustration being expressed, that it seems that it's a double standard, because while some people are focused on law enforcement not wearing face coverings, and it's also fair to point out that they do have to, by law, that was passed here in Olympia, they have to have identification viewable for everybody to be able to see their name tag, their badges. They also have video cameras, body cameras that they have to wear, and their vehicles are also assigned. So clearly those are ways for officers to be identified. Another concern does come in with doxing that is happening, where the officers' identities can be leaked, and there's concern for the safety of the officer and his family. That is not something that most people agree that their officers' families should, or the officers themselves, should be being put in harm's way for lawfully doing their jobs. The other frustration that's been communicated to me is we do have situations where you have Antifa or Black Lives Matter or even criminals that cover their face so that they can't be identified, that are actually committing crimes. If it is somebody that is committing a crime, whether it's assaulting somebody, it could be a rape, it could be murder, it could be a robbery. So we do need to take into consideration, are we just passing legislation in the House of Representatives that is anti-police, while at the same time we're protecting people that are breaking our laws? And some of these laws, when they're broken, are very violent crimes that are being committed by repeat offenders, in which, when that happens in our community, the crime victims are the ones that are left holding the bag. That is something that's very important. We don't put the resources into helping crime victims like we should. We only have so many resources to go around. So it does make sense that we want to reduce crime, and if that means that if it's during a riot or you're committing a crime, you should not be wearing a face mask to stop you from being identified. We need to stop this violent and dangerous and deadly behavior that's happening right now that is putting everybody at risk when tempers flare. And I think it's fair to say that there is some information that's being put out in the news that is slanted one way or another, and that's not a good thing either. So I think we need to have tempers calm down, and one of the ways that we do that is, again, by making sure that bad behavior is being able to be identified and dealt with. We want safe and clean neighborhoods for everybody.